I'm super excited about 2025 because it opens up the door to a lot of new opportunities. It's always exciting when you got some new activity going. And so in today's topic, I want to talk about introduction to federal sales and the process that kind of goes along with it. I'll try to get to as much as I can. So the first thing I'm going to cover today is just really talking about the size of the market. I want you to see how big the federal market is and where maybe you should be looking and how you should be enthusiastic about the market going into 2025. The second thing I'm going to cover down are the 3 ways to make money in the federal market. I call them the 3 revenue streams. This is really important because I'm going to talk about how the larges are doing it, then we should be doing the same thing. And this model works for the large businesses. We small businesses at our level should be doing something similar, and I'll guide you through that. And then I'm going to wrap up with just talking about the federal sales cycle in 3 easy steps. You can look at federal sales in 3 steps. And so I'm going to talk about it, and then going into tomorrow and the next couple of days, I'm going to expand on these topics. If you haven't seen this already, we've got the training today, but I got the next 9 days lined up. Make sure in particular you're registering on Monday the 13th. We're having a live virtual networking event. And so make sure you get in there. I think we already got 100 people registered. It's a great time to come in and connect. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonnell. I am the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. I'm co-founder of GovCon in a Box, and I'm super excited about that tool, so I hope you check it out. But I want to welcome you to my federal sales training, where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years in the federal market as a small business owner, and since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret, it's just a process. When we follow a process A to Z, we have repeatable, predictable results. This is what I want for you. One quick side note, I started a new company called 𝗟𝗂. And this is like a side project. I only work on it 1 hour a day, but it's a new government contracting business. And Nancy is my wife's name, so that's why it's called 𝗟𝗂. And I'm showing people on YouTube every day. I work 1 hour and I show them how I'm building this business, beginning with what am I selling, who's buying it. And what I'm doing this for is to be able to show people that, look, I've been teaching this for the last 7-8 years, but I can do it again. I help customers do it day to day, but I will build my own business and get it to $1 million in 12 months, following a simple process you can do. I'm going to use almost none of my own connections, so I'll show you how to do it from scratch. If that's interesting to you, go check it out on YouTube. All right, last thing, make sure you subscribe to our newsletter, Government Contracting Success Newsletter. It is the largest GovCon newsletter in the federal market on LinkedIn. Even in the last month, I just realized that number is wrong for how many subscribers we have. We grew like 1,000 subscribers in the last month, and it's because we keep putting out great content for your business. So take a look at that and subscribe. Please let others know about it. By the way, if you read an article and you like it and you give it a thumbs up, take 2 seconds and repost it with no comment, and you'll spread the word, and I will be thankful. By the way, you can look in the chat whenever I say certain things. Cecilia, in particular, who's my sister, and she's been with me since 2018 doing all this. She's always got these timely things that we're dropping in. By the way, I'm not positive I updated that URL, Cecilia. Okay, so let me get rid of my face here, and I want to show this thing quickly. I want to congratulate the newest 100 members of the 100 Club. This is a federal visibility score that I created that measures how visible are you to federal buyers using their tools. And so you can see we've got almost we have exactly 119 companies out of 360,000. 119 have this full visibility in the 100 Club. And it means that they've done what they need to do in DSBS, SAM, et cetera, so that when David Waltz is on here and other people go looking for you, they can find you. If they want to find you, but they can't, how can they buy from you? And so congratulations to Mighty Muscle, All-in-One Management and Services, David, or Dwight, you got to tell me how to pronounce your last names, but Moosh Industries, Paragon Cyber Solutions, is it YNO Designs? Hopefully you're on here, Yarly. Let me know, is it another way to pronounce that? And then Together Again, Mosaic Resource Group, and Gulf Coast Aviation Services. I'm very excited for you guys to be on here. If you're on here, let us know that you're in the 100 Club. Actually, if you're in the 100 Club, do what Pete Mitchell just did. Say, I'm number 38, right? I instantly go, oh, there's Pete. So congratulations to all these people. Make sure you go to govconinabox.com. It's a free service that we offer small businesses, free tool. Just go in. We show you your score. We tell you what you need to do to fix it to get to 100 score. And I have videos and training in there as well that go forward. So I wanted to start with just the size of the federal market. These things are really important for us to occasionally just keep reminding ourselves. I hear people talk all the time, whether it's the news or whether it's other people like me, whatever it is, doesn't matter. People talk about the government spends trillions. They absolutely do spend trillions. But that's not really what they're spending in government contracting, which is the world we're in. But they do spend billions, right? And that's still big. Shoot, they could spend millions and I'd be happy. But they spend billions, and we'll talk about that in a minute, right? Literally, they spend $750 billion is what I'm averaging it out at the moment, right? But $750 million or $1 billion in contracts annually. And we call this, I've heard this called this before, and so I call it this a lot, but these are small business eligible dollars. And what that means is if the government is spending trillions, of that trillion, 750 billion of it is small business eligible. Potentially, we could go after contracts of those 750 billion. Sure, we can. But if we don't have the ability to build a battleship, we're not really going to win that contract, right? But that number is what the number is I want you to keep in mind. And then in the next slide, I'll show you how we keep shrinking that down a little farther into more realistic understanding of how big the money is. But I wanted to pause for a second because I hear people talk about zero-sum game, which is, my entire career, it still confuses me on how to say it. But what I've heard people say is you've got this pie, like the federal government pie, and we all want to get a slice of the pie. The problem with that thinking is eventually, no matter what we're doing, it's so crowded with 1,000 of us, 100,000 of us, that sliver of pie is so tiny. And what I want you to understand is the pie is an opportunity. And there's 1,000 or 100,000 opportunities. Just bake another pie. Like if you're working on an opportunity, go work on another opportunity and another opportunity. The government doesn't have a problem spending money, right? And so when you think about opportunities and this idea of getting your piece of the pie, team up with other people, share a piece of pie, and then talk to them about, hey, while we're eating this slice, why don't we go make another pie? In fact, why don't we make a chocolate pie and an apple pie? So we have different types of pies. Don't see the government contracting world as just one pie where everybody's got a thin slice. Just go make another pie and another pie. There is a lot of room for all of us to grow. And when we work together, we will all grow much higher. All right, so one thing I wanted to point out here on the size of the federal government is that there are 10 common goods that every federal agency buys. An example is janitorial services or IT services or human resources services. There's official names that go with those 10, but there's 10 common goods. And I've done many posts recently talking about how you need to identify it. And then if you're in the defense side of the world, there's more specific ones. Let's call it, let's say bullets or submarines, right? Things like that. And what I want you to understand is they're communicating to us what they buy in these big groupings. This is basically category management, which is a great thing. Don't ever let anybody tell you it's a bad thing. It's a great thing because the government is trying to figure out how can they buy what they need in the easiest, most cost-effective way. And for us, though, when they are that clear with what they buy, these 10 common goods, inside the 10 common goods are like 87 subcategories. And so you can go in there. What I want you to do is to go look at that. And if you're a small business doing less than 5 million, pick one. Try your hardest for 2025. Say, I'm only doing HR and I'm diving in. I'm only doing medical and I'm diving in. When you look at a bunch, you start trying to act like $1 billion company, but your operations and your abilities are just small business. Same as me with 𝗟𝗂. I'm going to be really, really niche focused on that. And the last thing about the market, just letting you know, there's 500,000 plus federal buyers. And the way I define this as DOD alone has 185,000 people who have an acquisition-related job, meaning they have a job whose basically the responsibility is to purchase stuff, to buy stuff. But then you have all these other people, the people who use it. They are also buyers. They just don't sign the contract, but they're buyers. They influence it. They set the requirements, et cetera. And so between the defense and civilian agencies on the acquisition side of the house, and then all the related functional areas, the other people who would need what's being bought, there's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of buyers. And so there's all sorts of room for you to be able to meet people. And we'll talk a lot about this in the next few trainings, but I want you to dive in. One of the reasons I say get to the 100 club is because when you get to the 100 club, you're visible. Theoretically, you're really, you're visible in a good way, but you're at least visible to the federal buyer. These 500,000 buyers, if they're trying to find a company like yours, you make it easy for them to find you. It's way better to do that than to try to knock on 500,000 doors. Hopefully that made sense. By the way, put more pies into the chat if you understand that the federal market is big enough for all of us. More pies. Okay, so there are 3 ways to make money in the federal market. And I often hear people come into the federal market and they just want to go prime contract, right? I'm getting in, the government's my the customer, I'm going to go try to sell contract. That's not really how it works in the federal market. First off, if you're brand new, like 𝗟𝗂, I'm talking about starting this new company, I'm only going to subcontract in 2025. I'm not even going to waste my time trying to prime. Even though I've got 30 years of experience in here, I want to get in and build 𝗟𝗂's past performance as a sub. And so subcontracting and prime contracting are the 3 ways that you can make money. The first way you make money in the federal government is subcontracting under small business. Second way is prime contracting directly with the federal agency. And the third way you make money in the federal market is to subcontract under large businesses. The difference between a small business and large business is their threshold for risk. Large businesses are number 3 for me because they are much less likely to work with a small business than a federal agency would be. David Waltz is on here. We'll sit there and talk with you and figure out ways to get you in to support the Navy if you can support their mission and you bring a good product or solution. But a large, first off, they want to keep all the money for themselves. Nothing bad with that. They're just tied to their stockholders, et cetera. And the other thing is they've been burned so many times by smalls, they're very risk averse. And so you have to prove yourself before they'll take a chance. The reason I want you to think in 2025 and plan for all 3 of these revenue streams, if you're the right size. If you're just getting started, then don't worry about the large businesses. But plan for all 3 of these revenue streams. Subcontracting under small businesses is important because there's $170 billion in average awarded to small businesses as a prime contract. It means some woman-owned small business went to the Navy, won a contract as a prime contractor, they have the contract. Subcontracting means you do a task area underneath it. An example is I'm going to be doing communication and outreach or social media, but my niche for 𝗟𝗂 is going to be LinkedIn. That's what I want people to know 𝗟𝗂 for. Well, then that's the task area within a bigger contract I would want. That's called subcontracting. Prime contracting is just going directly to the federal agency. I already said it's $750 billion. Subcontracting under large, same as a small, except for here they've got a lot more money. So $570 billion goes to larges. As a generalization, don't take this as just lockdown fact, but as a generalization, large businesses are required to push 30% of that $570 billion to small businesses. It's a delegation of responsibility from the government to the large prime saying, hey, if we give you a big contract, we still want to take care of smalls and work with smalls, so you do some of that. It doesn't mean that number is always there. Sometimes it's a little higher. A lot of times it's a lot lower. But a good average number is 30%. And the reason I say that is 30 million times, or is it 300 million times 5, right? You're talking about $1.5 billion, almost the same amount that went to prime contracting to smalls could go to small businesses as a sub under a large. These 3 revenue streams I've talked about 50 plus times in other trainings that you can go look at it. And so definitely go look at it, but make a plan. Large businesses do this. I have a customer who won a contract in DOD, and underneath them, they had Booz Allen, Accenture, and GDIT. All 3 of these companies were multi-billion-dollar companies subbing under a small business, right? Now, that small business was doing 10 or 15 million a year, and they had built a relationship with larges. But what I'm showing you is that larges value subbing under smalls. Why wouldn't you? Larges value subbing under other larges. Why wouldn't you? Right? So let's make sure we do that. I did want to take advantage of the bully pulpit here to talk about the middleman and what I'm describing as middleman myth. I've done a ton of training. Anybody who's pretty familiar with me knows that I've done like well over 300 training type things every single year. And over the last 3 years, I've done 600 just on these LinkedIn trainings, not on other ones. my point is, I've watched a lot of people talk about middleman, and I just wanted to touch on this for 1 second to give you my opinion. I don't think there's anything wrong with middleman. I think the challenge we have is that people use this word middleman and we put different definitions and then we argue about it. There's this great quote: the biggest problem with communication is the illusion that it took place at all. And the illusion around middleman is that people know what it's talking about. Really, all middleman is that the government gives a contract to me. And as a middleman, I then give the work to somebody else. Here's the challenge. It's not even a problem, but here's the challenge in the myth. As a middleman, that's really just subcontracting. I think people confuse it by giving a different name like middleman, but really the government gave this person a prime contract, done. And then this person delegated the work out. The middleman part that comes in and where people kind of get up in the roar is when this middleman is trying to push everything down. Well, there's rules against that. And so all I want to say to anybody who's thinking about middleman and they've watched videos or whatever it is, I'm not saying it's bad. Same way I'm not saying it's bad to just go to Sam and find an opportunity and respond, right? But middleman, remember this, it is not a get-rich-quick scheme. If anybody's saying that, it's not going to happen. There are no get-rich-quick schemes. They're Ponzi schemes. Those work. But the other thing is, middleman is just prime contracting to subcontracting. Just know the rules and follow the rules. If you only subcontract out a certain portion, that's totally okay. As long as you follow the rules, middleman is just another way of saying prime subcontracting, because that's literally what it is. We try to make it a bigger deal and we demonize people who talk about it. And I don't want to demonize you. I just want to kind of course correct you back into the right way of doing it in a way that works for the government and gets you a success. Okay, that was just me saying my little 2 cents on middleman, because I never do. I never talk about controversial things in my trainings. All right, so let's talk about the part that I love, which is federal sales cycle. I'm very, very, very experienced in government contracting. I have decades of experience, but I am an expert at federal sales. This is the space I play in. I have made it a point to be an expert at it. I am a subject matter expert at it. And so by having that expertise, I try to bring it all the way back down to 3 easy steps. And the way I, as one, not the expert, just one of the experts out there, the way I describe federal sales lifecycle is this. You have 3 stages: business development, capture, and proposal writing. I don't do capture management. I don't like that term because capture management makes me feel like you're just sitting around managing things. It's like, no. Capture is a verb. Go out and do it. Go out and capture that opportunity. So let me walk you through these 3 stages really quick because they're all related. Business development is this idea of churning the water. You're going to your target agency and you're trying to understand them. I like to say you're going to understand that agency better than they understand themselves. You're going to download their strategic documents. You're going to have conversations with people. You're going to read their budget, et cetera. And so as you drive forward, you're understanding that agency. And imagine if I just pick on David Waltz is here today from the Navy. He is in one of the naval warfare centers, which is part of like 10, I think, naval warfare centers, which is part of NAVSEA, which is part of the Navy, which is part of the Department of Navy. There's no way he can know everything about that. But me, as a person who wants to sell to the Navy, I begin to know it all, or, a lot of it, right? So he has areas of expertise. And for me and for you as a business developer, understanding the agency means having a general good understanding of the Navy. They want us to understand. People like to work with people who understand their agencies, right? And so we want you to understand. Second thing you do in business development is build relationships. And so you're identifying people, you're reaching out and having cold calls, then first meetings, second meetings, and you start to build a relationship. And so business development is about building those relationships that are going to be with you for a long time. It is not transactional. I get in, can I get something? Can I get out? No, it's building a relationship where you really care about them and you're trying to get them to care about your success to the degree that they can. Like, hey, let me give you information. Let me be free with what I'm thinking about where we want to go. And the last one is identifying opportunities. And I think that one's pretty clear. So business development is about understanding an agency, building the relationships, and identifying opportunities, many opportunities within that agency that you can support. That leads us to capture, step 2. Capture is all, and by the way, I'm going to go into all of these tomorrow in the next couple of days in much more detail. But capture is about one single opportunity. You can do capture, many times, but business development is about many opportunities, finding them. And then when you find one you like and you put it into your sales pipeline, Well, how do you win it? And capture is about focusing on that one opportunity and basically increasing the chances of winning. You do that by having conversations with the customer, by understanding their challenges and their pain points and their goals and objectives more thoroughly than your competitors, more than just what's on a piece of paper. And the last step in the sales cycle is the federal sales cycle is proposal writing. And so proposal management, just so you know why I don't put that down, is because proposal management is not proposal writing. Proposal management is trying to wrangle all the people out there. And so the bigger your company gets and the bigger the opportunities you go after, the more players you have. And so a proposal manager is trying to make sure everything gets done. They might also be a proposal writer, but that's a different thing, right? And so proposal writing, though, is this idea of getting a response that goes back to the government that is in a clear, concise, compelling, and convincing way. Clear is like third grade, fifth grade level. Compliant is answering all the shall statements. You shall do this, you shall do that. Compelling is wowing them. Wow, that if you do that, that's super exciting. I'm excited, but prove it to me, which is the last one, convincing. Convincing them is taking that compelling message and saying, hey, we've done it here, we've done it here. These are the results, right? And so clear, compliant, compelling, and convincing is what we do in proposal writing. I'm going to expand on these, but I really want to point out this one thing. A lot of companies do business development and proposal writing. We find opportunities, we write a response. We find opportunities, we put it in our pipeline, we write a response. But we don't do that capture in the middle. Capture is how you differentiate yourself from your competitors. Capture is how you just knock it out of the park. So here's what I want you to remember from today's training. The first thing and the most important thing out of today's training, because I talked about a lot of things, but the most important thing, and I'll talk about this in 2 days on Wednesday the 8th, the most important thing is don't skip capture, right? Don't go from, hey, I found an opportunity, I put it in my pipeline, I wrote a response. Don't miss that part of captures in between. Capture is going to 10x your probability of winning, your P-win. If you do capture, it will be incredibly obvious to the federal buyer when they read your response. Wow, these guys get us. They took it to the next level. Every other competitor is just writing to an RFP. And so they're all basically writing the same thing with little experience. But when you say, hey, here's a challenge I learned about, here's another goal, you really rock it. So put capture rocks in the chat if you understand that in 2025, you must add a level of capture. You know, when you're a bigger firm, you can spend more hours. When you're a small firm, just at least do 4 or 8 hours of capture and it will move you forward. So put capture rocks into the chat. Something else I just wanted to mention really quick. Let me grab I want to look at my slides. I had something. Add an event. So we've got, and maybe Cecilia put this in the chat. If you're coming to this training, we got well over 100 people here today. And it's a great networking event. Go add I created a calendar in the tool called Add Event, where you can add the calendar to your Outlook or Google or whatever. So now you see all of our events at noon on your calendar. And when we schedule them, we let you know in there and we give you a link. And so like the next 10 days are all in there. That way you never miss another event. And then the last thing is make sure you go increase your federal visibility score to 100. Join the 100 Club by going to govconinAbox.com. Right there in the middle, you can say, just click on the button in the middle and you'll be able to enter your UEI, your company name, whatever. You'll see your score. Click on it and follow my guidance on how to get to the 100 Club. All right, I appreciate you being here for training. If you found value, throw a thanks in the chat for the team and for me. Just remember, as you head into the day, government contracting, it's not a secret. It's just a process. I will see you in the next training.